Thursday, practiced at 10 a.m. to 11, trying to leave right after airport. Sat at Hauser for 3 hours. We were delayed. Finally went to the airport, delayed further. Sat at the airport for 2.5 hours, and our inbound flight never made it. I was at the Delta counter. They were going to bus the 50 of us to Panama City for an 11 p.m. flight to Atlanta. Try to find a hotel in Atlanta at 7:15 a.m. We were going to fly from Atlanta to Pittsburgh. That's a lot to ask. Delta, after a lot of nudging, agreed to fly that plane at 7:15 down to Tallahassee Friday morning, where we would reconvene. Bus is already packed. Obviously, we're already ready to go. So we were then told, we'll fly Atlanta down here to scoop you up. We'll turn right around and fly you to Pittsburgh. So Friday morning, after leaving the airport at probably 6:30 Thursday night, we had the bus in left field at 6:30 a.m. and clearly the weather started to deteriorate rapidly on everybody in the area. It was about 6:40 and the tornado siren started to go off. The information we had said there was radar indicated tornado south. All the landmarks were south of us. We had at 6:50, about 15 of the 50 on the bus. And the guys were parking in left field and in the parking garage and coming down from their apartments, some of them on scooters, because we were already packed. This was just get on the bus and go to the airport and try to get to Pittsburgh. At about 6:55, we realized that this was not good. And we still didn't have everybody. We were still a dozen short. And to try to run back inside the stadium, as you could tell, this was about to get really bad. We did not think that was the smartest thing. For the bus was kind of in the middle of where everybody needed to like try to get to from the parking lot and from the deck. So we actually got everybody to the bus. And our flight, as this is going on, our flight has like been cleared to leave Atlanta and was on schedule to get here. So as we left this parking lot and started to go, you realize that the weather was as bad as you can imagine. And we kind of got stuck on Pensacola Street and redirected things and eventually got Lake Bradford and got to the airport. But there were some moments there I really concerned for what was going on. And it was, I think, far worse than anybody anticipated. And I think you had kids actually going to school, and the school, but it was kind of a normal day with some bad weather, but nobody predicted it was going to turn to that. So we got to the airport, things calmed down. Clearly devastation was severe. I tried to drive around this morning. We got back about 1:30 till I got home. It was 2:30, and I just drove around this morning. It's unbelievable. I hadn't seen that with the hurricanes, and living in St. Augustine and hurricanes, and here and some of the stuff in South Bend with the winds. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like I saw here this morning. Got to Pitt about 2:30, tried to check into the hotel, went to the field. Jamie Arnold, as he was warming up, told Mike, he's like, "Coach, I got it. I got the fastball today. It's coming." Like, this is him playing catch. And he knew, he said, "I have the spring in it. It's the first time I've felt that in a long time." That was positive. I thought he threw really well. The left-handed hitter, that they had some guys that hung in there well. Unfortunately, the one breaking ball, the guy got a hold of and hit it out. And offensively, their Friday night guy was really, really good. And we had no answer. We were fortunate to get out of there with the good win in the third game. Had some chances in game two. Just didn't play clean. Some of the guys in the bullpen, just the consistency of back-to-back good outings. We didn't get it. And then, we flew Monday from Pittsburgh to Orlando, lifted weights at UCF, bust up to DeLand or Lake Mary. Mike and I went to watch one of our high school seniors pitch in Lakeland. Ty drove to Tampa to watch one of our commitments, infielders play playoff games. That gets you through Monday night. Tuesday, you go to Stetson. We couldn't get on the field. We hit in the cages and played and didn't play well. We had 25 players without power. So while we were in Pittsburgh, we were trying to figure out how bad the damage was for these kids that were in Pittsburgh. Now, nobody could assess what was going on here because we were all gone. So we had 10 guys in hotels last night. And I think we're on the right track for some of these kids to get back into their apartments. Clearly, when you had no power for 4 days, the stuff in the refrigerator and freezers rotten and a mess, and they're trying to clean that out today. We're trying to lift weights today, and that brings you up to speed with what we went through. Tough, challenging, adverse conditions, difficult decision-making on everybody's behalf to try to navigate those things. A lot of cooperation around campus, around the city. There's bigger problems in the city than whether our fence is going to be 10 feet above the wall or 20 feet and whether the pitch clock works. I mean, there's people with far bigger issues than that. So we're fortunate to be here talking about this. We're safe. The kids are going to be fine. They need a day to recover and to sleep in and just regroup, because that was really a challenging Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And then on top of it, you don't play clean baseball. So that's tough. Just that is tough. Then you throw the other factors in there. Clearly one of the more difficult periods of time I've been through in coaching.
Coach, is Jaime available for this weekend?
He's having some diagnostic work done today, so we'll know more about his hand, wrist. It's a nagging thing, but nagging things this time of year, it's hard to just, it's not like the end of the fall where you get a couple months to regroup. This is, your day to day and more precautionary than anything else, but he's been drilled, stepped on, the diving stuff. There's just been a lot of impact on that. So we'll see. We'll know more this afternoon.
And as far as that lineup goes too, Link, early in the season, all 9 of your guys were providing a lot of depth. But as you guys have gotten to ACC play, bottom of the order, how do you get those guys going again here as you enter the last regular season weekend and then into postseason?
Pitch recognition and identification of the secondary pitches is the toughest. That's the toughest thing. And competitive reps are what you have to have and try to mature. Like some of the things that have gone on, it's a maturity piece. And you see guys like take strides with the approach and the pitch recognition and laying off some of the secondary pitches and adjusting and hitting some of those. I think that's been the crux of what's gone on in parts of that lineup. Not an easy thing to overhaul. Once the data's out there, you clearly see guys being pitched, and we try to work on it and talk about it in their cage work and with some video stuff to try to get them to move along. That's what we have to do. Clearly the pitching, it is what it is. It's going to be this and better for the rest of the way. So we hope those guys can battle through some at-bats and flip that lineup over. Everybody down there has had bright moments, and they're talented. All of them have. And I would take that part of the lineup. They're pretty good players. And I know it hasn't been great, but all in all, I think the guys have pieced together decent seasons when you look at it as a whole.
Coach, real quick, Connor Whitaker and Ben Barrett, how did they bounce back? How are they feeling? Really just getting back on the mound.
Whitaker probably further along than Ben. I don't know yesterday what happened. I think we went 19 hitters before somebody swung and missed. So it was a weird evolution of how that game went when nobody swung and missed at anything we threw for a long time. I think Witt's stuff looks okay. There are competitive reps and feel versus the training rep and feel, and the intensity and the intent of what you do in the games is clearly different than when you've done some minor rehabbing and bullpens. So trying to get them in those short little bursts to try to get the competitive juices back and feel like, how does this stuff work back in that setting, is where they are. I think Whitaker's been a little bit more aggressive and confident in this stuff, where Barrett looks like he's just been a little bit more tentative with it. But Ben is not far. It's not far off. And, Leiter's out there throwing right now. So that's good to see. And we just have to continue to build. The college season, the length of it doesn't give you a lot of shutdown and ramp up time when you're in the middle of the year. So that's what we're up against for all of those guys that have been down. But I think Witt's on his way. Whether he's on his way to throw 80 pitches and start, I don't know. But, building in 15, 20, 40, he's not starting from scratch, but it's still something that has to be ramped up a little bit.
And one last one for me. You just said Leiter's out there throwing. Has he gone on the mound yet, or has he just been throwing flat ground?
Chris, he's throwing. Now, he does mound work. And he said, Coach, the mound feels really comfortable, familiar. He's doing his dry work on the mound just to have the sense of slope and let the body in the lower half still feel that. Eventually, he's got to combine what he's doing in the catch play to the mound. We're just not quite there yet. But, man, he's chomping at the bit to do it. So we've got time. We don't have a lot of time, but we still have some time to try to get him back in the fold. And whether that's, starting or relief, when you have 96, 98, a 92 mile an hour slider, curveball, and change, however we can get that in there, it helps.
Absolutely.
Anything else for Coach?
Jamie Arnold. What did you share with him after his dominant start, but he's still coming away with a loss?
I was just happy he felt good. And, the one pitch the guy ran into, that's difficult, and that should not be enough to beat you, but it was enough. And I mean, he did. And I told him after the game, you did everything you could do. The stuff and the life in the body, the life on the fastball, the command of the breaking ball, it's as good as I've seen him throw. And that's all I can ask that young man to do. And unfortunately, if you take an L for that, that's just the way the game works. Sometimes you probably come away with some W's when you don't pitch great as the days and weeks and years mount. So I was just happy to see him throw well. And he knew. It's funny when you have somebody with that kind of sense of self and talent, when he's playing catch, never even got to the mound, for him to tell Micah, like, the spring is there. I got it today, the life in the fastball. And it's funny because of all the starts, after what the heck we went through, you would think that might be the one where you don't feel great, but he did. So the pitch count wasn't extremely high. The stress level of it wasn't high. So I think that probably helps heading into tomorrow, knock on wood. I mean, it sometimes doesn't work how you think it would work, but at least we feel good with where he was with the pitch count. And Dorsey too. Like, Dorsey didn't throw much. Dorsey was not sharp, and we felt like, just to keep the game in check, we went to the bullpen. Whether that was right or wrong early, the game felt like it was telling us we got to change this up. But maybe that helps us this weekend a little bit.
Good. Anything else for Link? Good to go? Awesome.
Hey, the screen is going to be a 10-foot screen this weekend. So it's, I guess, half of what it normally is, but there's no fence up now. The poles are there, and I think they just snaked that fence later today and tomorrow. But that's what there's going to be this weekend. So it's about half the the height. I think that helps a little bit. You know, I don't know how many balls this year have hit the upper two sections of that screen. May not be as much as you think. It's sometimes I think the quirkiest part of our dimension is right center field. It almost shortens up a little bit. So some of those balls to right center probably are the ones that sneak out of here more than they would at other stadiums. Our true right field line is tight, but I think the lack of the depth towards the gap is where it really gets a little tight. But we're fortunate to have people out here trying to help us get this thing right, and having part of that screen just makes it a little more normal than if there was nothing.